Welcome back into MGN Sports. I am Kramer Sansone, and joining me now is former NFL veteran for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Uche Nwaneri. But Uche, how you doing, my man?
I'm good, man. How you doing? Appreciate you having me on.
How was it that football was a sport that you gravitated towards?
In middle school, I got approached by the high school coach for our football team, and he actually pretty much threatened me and said, "You're not going to play two sports. You're going to play football or you ain't going to play nothing." And I'm like, all right. So my sophomore year, I started playing football. That was the first time that I really, got to play the sport. Now, I was always just in love with it, a huge fan, but my parents didn't like the violence of it. They were huge football fans, which was weird. Like, you're huge football fans, but you don't want me to play football. So they weren't really, too happy about me joining the team. But that's like the origin story of me in football, because I was always just a massive fan. I grew up a Niners and Tampa Bay Bucks fan, and I watch their games every year. My parents are huge Cowboy fans,
So I feel like they kind of realized when you were starting to get those offers from, say, well, I mean, of course, you went to Purdue, the Boilermakers. So it's like, what was that like? Saying like, oh crap, I'm getting all of these offer letters. You got to narrow it down. So what was that? What was that like?
Man, it was crazy. It was a wild time. My parents didn't they were just like waiting for the football phase to go on by. The first letters that I got were from Texas A&M. And when my dad had came in with the mail, and he's, he sees Texas A&M, all of a sudden now my dad starts getting a little hyped up, like, oh, okay, you played this good football for A&M. And, I went to the football camps, and, I was a defensive end. So I was playing defensive end and tight end. I mean, I was getting phone calls, I was getting letters, Notre Dame, Wisconsin, Penn State, Stanford, Nebraska, Florida State. And
So what was that like juggling? Because I mean, going to Purdue, what was that juggling the student athlete life?
at Purdue was a little bit different. They didn't care that you were an athlete. The campus is a great campus. It was a massive campus when I was there. We had 40,000 students when I was at Purdue, and that was from 2002 to 2006. Making sure that all athletes had like tutors. We had the right kind of tools, because this is before, before the kicking off of the information age. So from a student athlete perspective, it was harder for Purdue athletes than it was maybe at Michigan or Ohio State, because, the teachers, fans of the team too. The teachers at Purdue were like, we got a football team? Like, it wasn't their priority. And Purdue was a mid-level Big Ten school as far as football went. Had some good years, were consistently in bowl games. When I left Purdue, we had been to bowl games, I think 13 out of 14 years that we had Coach Tiller there. So, it was a wonderful campus, man. I mean, I have great memories from Purdue, the campus itself.
Then now you go to draft day. Right? You were drafted in the 5th round. Actually, I think it was 149th, if I'm correct on that.
Yep, 149.
What was that like, saying in Jacksonville, like, give me that call? It was like saying, hey, we want you to be a Jaguar.
It's funny. There's so many like weird things that, years later I would understand. Oh, well, that kind of makes sense now. But I was actually about to get drafted by the Falcons. And I was projected originally to go at the end of the 2nd round to early 3rd round. But, I had an issue at Purdue where I ended up getting suspended from the university for my junior year. I got in a fight with a teammate. He started the fight, put his hands on me first. I didn't like whoop him. I just hit him one time, and he was bigger than me, offensive lineman. I hit him one time, broke his jaw on both sides. That was at a time, my senior year was a time when the whole Pac-Man Jones thing was going on, where he's getting in all that trouble. So the NFL was all hung up on, if you got in any trouble in college, it was going to hurt you. ESPN had me set from being 2nd to 3rd round to being undrafted because of character issues, they said. So, I go into this draft, and I really, I had no idea. I had no idea where I'd go. I talked to 26 teams at the combine. They all asked me about the entire, and the story as it's told to them is like a 30-minute story, because I have to, I got trained, I got rehearsed how to tell it to the teams with my agent and his people. I didn't really know what team really was interested, because I got calls in the week of the draft. I got calls from, I honestly, if I had to pick one, I would say that I was either going to Kansas City or I was going to Atlanta or Chicago, because those are the teams that called me every day almost leading up to the draft. And on draft day, I'm sitting there, my agent calls me, he says, Chicago is, they're picking one guy ahead of you, and then they're going to pick you, and this is in like the second round. So I'm like, all right, second round, all right. Chicago doesn't call. So I'm just like, okay. Third round, my agent is telling me that Atlanta is interested, and Atlanta is trying to find a spot to take me. And, third round's over, first day's over. So, we go to the next day. I'm at home in Texas with my parents, family. We're just sitting there, and it's like fourth round, and I'm like, all right, this is like, what's going on? So fifth round comes along, and I'm just, kind of at this point, I'm like close to like just going to go play some video games for a while, because I was like, I'm just stressing myself out sitting here on the couch. Everybody's like quiet, like they're not trying to say anything, but I'm like, hey, don't not talk, because I'm just sitting here quiet. Y'all say whatever y'all want. I'm just waiting for my phone to ring. And fifth round comes, 149, phone starts ringing. I pick up the phone, and it's Shaq Harris, who is the GM. He's telling me asking me if I want to be a Jaguar, and I'm like, Florida? I mean, in at Purdue, I would see the Jags on TV all the time, and I like the Jags, because there was like all black uniforms, a lot of guys with dreadlocks. They're flying around hitting people, so I'm thinking, yeah, they're good. I definitely want to go there. Yeah. I talked to Jack Del Rio, and my dad starts hooting and hollering and pumping his fist and walking around the house all hyped up. And then water starts spilling out of the vent in our ceiling. And, I guess like somebody had flushed the toilet upstairs, and I don't know, if the water kept running. It was just water just pouring out of the ceiling, and we're all just like, my mom's screaming and cheering, and my sister's like singing. And, it was just a whole like circus for like 10 minutes of screaming and hollering. And it was amazing. You never forget that in your life. And, it was like a dream come true. It really was. Because, I didn't know what that situation was going to play out like, because of everything that I had dealt with in college. And, come to find out later that the Jags had actually traded 3 picks to the Falcons, because the Falcons were going to pick me. So they traded 3 picks to the Falcons to switch and pick me at that spot instead of the Falcons getting me. And now here I am, retired, living in Atlanta. Walk out there on Sundays. You watch that on TV every week from your childhood on, and then to like see it and to see players that I watched when I was in middle school who were still playing. I played against Derek Brooks from the Bucks, and I geeked out when I saw him in the preseason. I was like, man, please, I need your signature. I need that jersey you got. I need everything. I need your gloves, something. So it was pretty special, seeing Brett Favre in Green Bay.
Oh, that's great. Hey, you said that you played video games. How long have you played video games? Your entire life, pretty much?
Since I first touched a controller.
And so what was that like when you probably played Madden too, because you played in the NFL, you probably had to play Madden. What was that like seeing your guy out there? Like you were like, hey, look, I'm playing as Jacksonville. I was like, there's me.
Oh yeah, that was surreal. My highest rating, I think, was a 92 on that game, or 91 or 92, I can't remember. But
you're a bad man.
Oh yeah, that was bragging points in the locker room. I'm like, yeah, 92.
Like kind of like a normal locker room talk with you guys.
Oh yeah, that was for probably about a week after the game comes out. That's all guys are talking about on in the locker room, because we got PlayStations and Xboxes that were just sitting in there, connected to the flat screens, and and everybody's looking at their rating and kind of, some guys are like, man, that's bull, or some guys are like, yeah, hell yeah. So it was always an event, always an event.
No, that's awesome though. So like with Maximum Football,
Mm-hmm.
they're having like the college style. Because I mean, of course, you were also in the NCAA games as well.
Mm-hmm.
But now NCAA is gone, but they have the college aspect still. Maximum Football. They have their pro league as well. Even though I think they have their Canadian league in there as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've seen the trailer.
Yeah. The
What was
trailer looks good.
what was your first thoughts on it?
When I saw the trailer for the new one coming out, I actually was surprised at how much more work they had done since Ryan had shown me other, earlier builds. And I thought it was nice how there was, you could tell that the physics was on with how the game delivered, like the action, like one of the running backs spinning out of a tackle. I thought that was really nice because you don't really see that, and it looked dynamic in the sense that it wasn't so much a canned animation, that like he was running, the guy was wrapping up on him, and then he spins out of it, which to me that seems more in the line with like what 2K did, where you could actually branch out of a tackle if you tapped on a button quick enough, then you could break the tackle, but you'd have full control while breaking that tackle. You could break it and get right out to the right or to the left. Um, Physics, the way that guys collide in the air, I thought that was really nice, because that's something that I'm sure is harder to kind of replicate when you don't have the same kind of resources as like a EA Sports. It looks like there have been nice, consistently substantial steps taken forward with the game in each year, and with this one, I just really feel like it looks like the controls are far tighter than what you see in Madden. Just the depth behind the franchise mode. I mean, Dynasty, but the depth of that. I mean, dude, I don't even try to get into franchise mode on Madden because it's just not appealing to me the way that it's set up. And there just hasn't been that in the last two generations of consoles. There just hasn't been that. So, I seeing how it was set up in the trailer for me was probably the brightest spot in just my excitement for it, because I'm going to sit down and take my time and just play that. The slow burn is what is going to be the best part of it, because as you build and build, you actually try and play things out. You'll lose recruits, you'll gain recruits. You'll be trying to build a program in every facet of the program, from the coaches to the recruits. I am all for that, dude. That is like, I'm 36. I would like to sit down and just play a game at my own pace and not be online necessarily, and be playing, in these card game matchups all the time. But the gameplay is so broken. And like with all online games, once a couple of people figure out how to break it and take advantage of the parts of the game that aren't consistent and don't work right, then the game becomes a practice in frustration rather than, enjoying being just better and smarter about how football games are played than the guy you're playing against online.
But yeah, so with MGM, we're actually going to be like during the simulation leagues for Maximum Football, we're giving out awards this year. So at the end of the season, we're going to name our offensive guard of the year award after you.
Oh,
so we're going to be like, hey,
nice.
So yeah, no, you're going to have an award that's for MGM Sports. So it's like, hey, our offensive guard of the year, brought to you by Uche Nwaneri. So it's
the
like, hey,
lineman.
the observant lineman. There you go. Hey, anything you want to plug before we wrap this up?
Well, you can check me out on YouTube. My channel is my name, Uche Nwaneri, but my moniker is the Observant Lineman. You can also find me on Sports Wars. That's another channel on YouTube. And I'm on Reddit at the Observant Lineman, and Twitter is Chukwu77, and Instagram is Chukwu, CHUKWU. But no, I appreciate you guys bringing me on, man. I really had a great time talking. Y'all let me talk, which I thought was pretty cool, because I was rambling on there for a little bit, trying to go through some of these old memories. But no, you guys have me on the show.